Shannon Sharpe. He's facing a $50 million lawsuit for sexual assault. He's denying all of it and stepping away, but he's stepping away from ESPN. I mean, I think it's it's all a
I
mess.
just I just seen him on the show this morning. How you stepping away?
Well, um, I don't know. I don't know if I have that video up right now. I do have another video. We could actually take a look at it, but he put out a statement yesterday and said that he was stepping away so he could, be with his family and work on resolving, or taking care of the issue at hand. So yeah. How do you think it what about you? How do you think it plays out? Especially, how high profile he's gotten. You think he could bounce back from this?
I mean, it's gonna play out how it's gonna play out. I mean, at the end of the day, when you get high profile and then something happens, most people are never really able to recover, from the allegations, whether they are, presumed to be false, or whatever, because the news cycle and the way that people look at information, it goes and it flows in a season. So I mean, he'll be looked at not unfavorably, I don't think, in many most cases, because it's kind of like, how his popularity has come to be is kind of been on stuff like this, antics
Right.
and popular conversations, and people have been following, um Club Shay Shay and the After Dark
Big Kyle.
here in Ocho, they talk about, these types of things, He promotes, male enhancement fields,
Right. Those sparks.
growth sparks, you know what I'm saying? So some of these things and the way that you go about and, promoting yourself and the things that you involve yourself in, it leaves you open to a lot of different ways someone can attack you or some people can attack you. The vulnerabilities, are really high for people who indulge in certain ways and means of how they live their lifestyle, especially if you talk about it publicly like
Right.
that. It's very, very easy. You become a very easy target to hit, you know.
Right.
So unfortunately from him, whether it's true or not, I don't really think that's the case, but the damage I believe is already been done. Cause anytime you gotta pay money or anytime somebody say anything inappropriate, you did this, you did that, you're always looked at a little bit differently, you know.
Right.
Your
And
clean record or your clean slate is no longer there,
right.
so you're not as favorable as you could have been before, which probably got you jobs ahead of other people. Of course you could talk, you got a little bit of a you blah, 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 but people could still understand you.
Right.
So um yeah, man. I mean, he like anything. We'll just have to see how it plays out, and see how it goes. Hopefully he can recover from it because I don't think he's a bad dude, but unfortunately, just the way he goes about doing certain things, it leaves him, open to be targeted in certain ways.
Right. Do you think though this is just do you think men outside of that space are targeted? And I'm not saying just like your average, 9 to 5 dude, but I mean like guys of wealth, like there's a guy who's a high earner in his particular field. Like, do you think women target them as well?
Oh, of course. I mean, not only in the entertainment field, but in the blue collar world, or white collar world. Women are going to look for easy targets, and it could be organizations of women, it could be organizations in particular that send women. There's many different ways that these things may and can happen, So, um, for women in general, I believe um, especially these days, a certain type of caliber women, how they look at, these types of men and what they're looking for, what they want is very superficial and is very transactional,
Right.
you know. So if we're looking at it from the standpoint of, oh, he has money, he has, the ability to, you know, put me in these positions, or allow me to experience these things and have these things, then of course you're going to target those guys that have the capability, without even lifting a finger, you know. So the guys that get targeted are the ones that seem to be not very smart, you know, in terms of how they see things. They see it from a very you could say egotistical, a naive, standpoint. Um, because there's no way that, I'm going to allow somebody to get me in the predicament. And, I can be speaking on that way because I'm on the outside looking in, but,
Right.
knowing what I know now, going through my situations, I'm not definitely going to let anything like that happen again, Now,
Right.
be it may so, my woman could divorce me tomorrow, and then it's like, okay, well, how you got me? And then after that, it's like I'm on some Book of Eli stuff. I'm just on the road alone by
Right.
myself, holding this book, gardening with my life, So that's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go ahead and play this video real quick. Um, it's actually of a young lady. She's a influencer. She's reacting to the whole Shannon Sharpe allegations. We'll see what she has to say here.
My opinion, he had it coming. Do I think that this girl is 100% exploiting him? 1,100,000,000,000%. I think she is. She sees a meal ticket and she's trying to get as much money as she can. But why else would a 19-year-old get with a 57-year-old if it wasn't to dig some gold or to go up in levels? And nothing against Shannon Sharpe, but he looks like he's in his 50s. Okay, he's not that he looks like he's Brad Pitt or Idris Elba. Like,
I
he
don't know what
looks
that
in
means.
his 50s. A 19-year-old girl would have nothing to do with you unless you had money and gold to dig. And you, in your grown ass age, should not be messing with someone that young to begin with. If you don't want to be exploited, let's not go to that pool that would obviously try to exploit you. This is real stupid. And I don't care if it's legal, because that's what everyone's trying to say. It's legal, it's legal. You guys, if the legal age changed to 10 tomorrow, you would start dating an 11-year-old. It's ethically wrong. What does a 50-something-year-old man have to do with a girl that just got out of high school? There is more age difference between them two than her actual age. Put that in before her, like, that she's been alive on this earth. And you think a 19-year-old is going to love him for him? He doesn't love her for her. He loves that she looks good. She loves that he has money. That's the match. I'm not shocked that she's exploiting him. Men have to do better about protecting their legacy. And even though it's illegal, doesn't mean that it's right. Okay? We can say that cheating is wrong, even though it's legal. Like, there's no criminal offense for cheating. Up to the 90s, it was okay to R-word your wife. Like, he should not be dealing with a 19-year-old, or this is what's going to happen.
Yeah. So I'll just jump in first. I I agree with some of what she said, but then I also totally disagree with some of what she said. The problem that I have is there's a double standard. We actually just reacted to Tracy Ellis Ross last week, and we didn't play that particular video about her talking about she doesn't like to date older men, but she, in that same episode, He said she doesn't like to date older men. She likes younger men because older men are toxic. Um, so I know you're probably like, oh, this is a different scenario. But if we want to go, further, if you look at um Jalen Green, Anthony Edwards, and some other professional athletes who are in their 20s, some of them are just probably hitting mid 20s, but most of those young men are 22, 23, 21, and they have older, a lot older baby mothers now. And guess what? I've heard some people talk about Drea as it relates to Jalen Green, but not as many people talk about Drea Michelle and these other ladies as it relates to them dating younger men. I think if it's good for one side, then it's good for the other side. If it's bad for one side, it's bad for the other side. And also I found that it's, for some reason, it's hard for women to accept accountability for anything that they do. So that explains why we don't hear much being said when it comes to Drea and all these other women. I don't think it's fair. I've heard so many people discuss it, and all the time it's the man's fault. And I think that's, I'm a man and I know what it takes and I know what men have to deal with, and we are expected to take accountability for any and everything. And that's how we go about life, right? Because we know that if we don't take accountability, then no, I mean, we know we have to, if we don't take accountability is going to be assigned to us anyway. And that's the unfortunate part. So I agree with her saying, he has to be more mindful, of the people that he deals with. I know she's an OnlyFans model, but I heard that they met at the gym, so I don't know if he initially knew. But you have to be more careful, Shannon, for sure. I follow you, meaning that I watch your content and I enjoy your content, and hopefully, things work out for you. But even if this doesn't, even if she doesn't get paid out the money that she's looking for, because I think we addressed that, but yeah, $50 million, right, is what she's asking for. And there's two things I want to address with that. If things don't work out for her, she still won. You know why she won? Because she used Shannon Sharpe's prowess, his fame, etc., to put attention on her. And I don't have the numbers, but I can guarantee you right now that her OF went up because they want to see. I guarantee you that it went up. OF going up. It was going up this week. I can guarantee you that. And she already, like you said, because she already did the damage. The damage is done. And sometimes people look at people like this, in fame, and like stars and people like that, and wonder why they settled. This is why they settled. They settled because more damage could be done, even if it's not true. And so that's the unfortunate thing, man. Like I said, I'll let you jump in because of you want to share anything on, on that video or anything else.
I mean, you said it. You said it all pretty much. I mean, for the most part. I mean, she said some of the same things I said similarly. In terms of opening yourself up, to being exploited. But I mean, going into it, you would never think, okay, this is something that's going to happen to me. Age has nothing to do with that. I mean, like you said, it's definitely a double standard.
Right.
You know, women never mention it the other way. They only mention it the man's way. So, you know, I don't believe any of that is a real factor. An adult is an adult, you know. Of course, if it were my daughter, I would definitely be saying, hey, you might want to, try to date someone else. This guy is a little bit old, a lot more experienced than you. You guys might not be looking for the same thing at this current time. You guys might not be on the same level in terms of experience. Matter of fact, I know you're not,
Right.
and what makes you liken to this guy? Like, what do you like about this guy? You know? Um, so those are some of the things that, I would be in her ear about. And, her being 19, how, well, I don't know what her upbringing is. I don't know what her background is, but, who kind of put her up to this? Is this something that she thought about on her own? Is this something that she just kind of feel like, oh, well, I just feel, taken advantage of, blah, blah, blah. And 9 times out of 10, people are not trying to blow up their spot. You're already an OnlyFans model, so it's just kind of like, I'm pretty sure you're making decent money. But like you're saying, like now, it's probably going up. It's jackpot season right now on OF.
Sure.
Because you're being connected to this guy that's a lot more famous than you. But other than that, man, like I said, we'll see how it plays out. And like I'm always call out the whole double standards thing for sure. Because yeah, that's something that we can need to continue to focus on because if you guys want equal treatment, equal opportunity, equal pay, blah blah blah, you gotta take it on both sides. It can't just be, winning how you want it. So that's my spiel.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 1000%. Like, man, it's crazy. Um, I know he's pretty private. I'll just add this last thing. The same lawyer who's representing her is the same lawyer who represented the young lady who came out, you know, about Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z and Puff said she was 13. I don't know if you're familiar with that, cuzzo, but she said that they essayed her, you know, and everything was dropped. It was the case was dropped. There was one other person. I don't want to. I guess I'll leave it because I don't remember who the person was. But he also, Stephen A. talked about this. But that's the same lawyer who represented the people who came out against Deshaun Watson as well.
Mm.
Yeah, so there's two sides to it. You don't know kind of, what to believe. I just think this is a bad situation. And I'll just address this last thing and we can move on to the next topic. But the problem in this is, like I said, she already won because even if she doesn't get the money, er, she's profiting from this. But what happens if she is lying?
Nothing.
Nothing.
And bro, it just goes away.
And that's unfair and unfortunate because we've seen it take down a lot of people. It's caused a lot of men to lose their money, lose their reputation. Jonathan Majors, even though Johnny Depp won in court, his legacy was still diminished. They took stuff away from him, money, uh, opportunities away from him. Jay-Z, that didn't last long, but still people were saying he did it before, he was, guilty in a court of public opinion already, before anything else happened. Um, and there's a lot of other guys that I can't think of right now, but nothing happens to the accuser when they find out, that they're lying, which is not fair. Like when I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe when women start getting prosecuted for lying, that they're gonna stop doing this because it's a risk that I don't think they're willing to take.
Mm.
But I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. The Duke lacrosse team. The girl said she was lying.
Mm.
They lost scholarships. You know, we don't know how their lives would have turned out if that thing hadn't happened. I mean, they did put themselves in a certain position. I mean, in a certain situation.